It's 6 p.m. in London. This is The World Today with Maryam Moshiri. Sean Diddy Combs has been found guilty of 2 counts of transportation to engage in prostitution, but cleared of the more serious charges of racketeering and sex trafficking. The American rapper's family leaves court in high spirits. The lawyer for Combs' ex-partner, Cassie Ventura, had this reaction.
We understand beyond a reasonable doubt is a high standard, and we're just pleased that he still faces substantial jail time.
This is a huge victory for Sean Combs. His family have returned to court. He could be walking out of the courthouse, potentially, but the saga is not over for him.
In other news, Hamas says it's considering a new ceasefire proposal for Gaza, which President Trump says Israel has agreed to. Ukraine is seeking clarification from Washington over its scaling back of military aid, warning the move will embolden Russia. Also coming up on The World Today, is it a bird? Is it a plane? Look who's levitating from the peak of London Shard, one day only installation created to promote the latest Superman movie. Hello and a very warm welcome to The World Today on BBC News. The US rapper and music mogul Sean Diddy Combs has been found guilty on 2 counts of transportation of women to engage in prostitution, but not guilty of the most serious charges against him. Well, that was Nima Rahmani there. Still to come on The World Today, we'll have more on the cultural significance of this trial verdict for the disgraced music mogul Sean Diddy Combs. Around the world and across the UK, this is The World Today on BBC News. Well, let's go back now to our top story and the trial of Sean Diddy Combs. Let's speak now to Professor Mark Anthony Neal, Professor of African American Studies at Duke University in Durham, North Carolina. And Professor, thanks so much for joining us on The World Today. If I can ask you first of all, just to give me your reaction to today's events. Stay with us on BBC News. This is The World Today on BBC News. The latest headlines. Sean Diddy Combs has been found guilty of 2 counts of transportation to engage in prostitution, but cleared of the more serious charges of racketeering and sex trafficking. Hamas says it's considering a new ceasefire proposal for Gaza, which President Trump says Israel has agreed to. Ukraine is seeking clarification from Washington over its scaling back of military aid, warning the move will embolden Russia. The Dalai Lama has confirmed he'll have a successor after he dies, but China insists any plan must be approved by its government. Well, let's return now to our top story. The American rapper Sean Diddy Combs has been found guilty of transporting 2 of his former girlfriends to engage in prostitution, but he's been cleared of the more serious charges of sex trafficking and racketeering. Well, let's show you some live pictures now of that courthouse in New York and around the world and across the UK. This is The World Today on BBC News. The High Court in London has ordered a robust and independent investigation into how MI5, the UK's security service, gave false evidence to multiple courts. Well, let's just take you briefly, if we can, to New York, because this is the scene outside that courthouse in the city. This is our top story. This is the story that we are keeping a close eye on, and that is the trial, or the end of that trial, of Sean Diddy Combs. He's been cleared of racketeering and sex trafficking, but he is guilty of transportation for prostitution. We're waiting to hear whether or not the disgraced music mogul is set to be released on bail today. Will he walk out of that courthouse in front of all the world's media, or will he be made to stay in jail until his sentencing in a few weeks' time? We'll bring you all the very latest on this developing story on The World Today on BBC News. Do stay with us. It's 7 p.m. in London. This is The World Today with Maryam Moshiri. Sean Diddy Combs has been found guilty of 2 counts of transportation to engage in prostitution, but cleared of racketeering and sex trafficking charges. The American rapper's family has returned to the courthouse following the verdicts. The lawyer for Combs' ex-partner, Cassie Ventura, had this reaction.
We understand beyond a reasonable doubt is a high standard, and we're just pleased that he still faces substantial jail time.
This is the scene live at the New York City courthouse, where we expect a decision on whether Mr. Combs will be released on bond or not. In other news, Downing Street says the Chancellor Rachel Reeves has the Prime Minister's full backing after she's seen visibly upset in the House of Commons. Hamas says it's considering a new ceasefire proposal for Gaza, which President Trump says Israel has agreed to. Also coming up on The World Today, the Women's Euro 2025 Football Championship kicks off in Switzerland, with Iceland facing Finland in that opening game. Hello and a very warm welcome to The World Today on BBC News. The US rapper and music mogul Sean Diddy Combs has been found guilty on 2 counts of transportation of women to engage in prostitution, but found not guilty of the most serious charges against him. Now here's what we know so far this hour. We're back after this short break. Around the world and across the UK, this is The World Today on BBC News. Downing Street says Rachel Reeves has the Prime Minister's full backing and will remain as Chancellor after she was seen visibly upset in the Commons during Prime Minister's questions. It's Paul Adams there. Let's go to New York very briefly now and take you to the outside of that courthouse, where inside we know that in a short while we'll be hearing about whether or not music mogul Sean Diddy Combs will be allowed to be released on bail. That decision is due later on this evening. Stay with us on BBC News. This is The World Today on BBC News. The latest headlines. Sean Diddy Combs has been found guilty of 2 counts of transportation to engage in prostitution, but cleared of racketeering and sex trafficking charges. Downing Street says the Chancellor Rachel Reeves has the Prime Minister's full backing after she's seen visibly upset in the House of Commons. The High Court in London orders a robust probe into how MI5 gave false evidence to multiple courts. The case follows BBC investigative journalism into the abuse of 2 women by an MI5 agent. The Dalai Lama confirms he will have a successor after he dies, but China insists any plan must be approved by its government. The High Court in London has ordered a robust and independent investigation into how MI5 gave false evidence to multiple courts. 2 reviews have already taken place after the BBC revealed that the security service had lied in a case concerning a neo-Nazi state agent who abused women. Back after this short break. Around the world and across the UK, this is The World Today on BBC News. Now, they are the fresh faces of a timeless classic, and today the new cast of Superman is in London for the premiere of the latest film on the comic book hero.
Thank you.
Now, let's just take you very briefly, if we can, to that courthouse in New York, because this is our top story for today. And I want to just take you there because we've had some more information. We're going to be hearing at about 10 o'clock British summertime. That's in around about 2 hours' time, a little bit more about whether or not Sean Diddy Combs is going to be granted bail, because that's when court is due to reconvene. Remember, the judge has been deliberating on whether or not to grant the music mogul bail. We will be keeping our eye on that story live here, as always, on The World Today on BBC News. Right. What do Winston Churchill, Jane Austen and Shakespeare all have in common? Well, they all appear on banknotes. Of course they do. Now, that might not be the case, though, for much longer, because notes issued by the Bank of England are about to get their first major redesign in more than 50 years. And you are being asked who and what should be on them. My colleague Ben Bland takes a look at how our cash has changed over the years.
Take a look back, dive into the vault. This is a 10 shilling note, first introduced more than 100 years ago. These were the first notes to have colour on them, and they were printed on postage stamp paper. And take a look at this familiar face. This is from the Bank of England's Series C. This entered circulation around a decade after Queen Elizabeth took the throne. It was the first £5 note to have a photo of a monarch on it. And that set the template, which has lasted for decades, including the now old paper banknotes. There we are, there's an example. This particular design was introduced in 2000, 8 years after Charles Darwin was put on the back. He was then replaced with Jane Austen when the new polymer tenor was introduced in 2017. Thing is, how important is cash now? Well, there were 6 billion cash payments made in 2023. That's down 7% from the year before. And with people using cash for only around 12% of all transactions in the UK, you might wonder if it's still important. But for some, it is pretty vital. Around 1.5 million people mainly use cash for their day-to-day spending.
Ben Boulos there, of course. Hold on a second. Hello? Yes, Bank of England. I've got a fantastic idea for a new banknote. I've just printed it out and there we go. What do we think? The Maryam Moshiri £5 note. Come on, guys. This is it. This is the moment. I am the moment. Queen Maryam. No, maybe not. OK. Bad idea. And actually, Tom Brada, who is in the gallery, wants me to reiterate this is not a real note. OK, so don't go out trying to find one. I know millions of you out there want to. But someone who knows a bit about banknotes is banknote specialist and collector Simon Narbeth. And you are here with me with your collection. Simon, it's lovely to see you. Before I talk to you about all of these lovely notes you have on the table, what do you think about the Bank of England saying, look, we're going to change things up a bit?
Well, it's very interesting. It seems to be a theme these days that they're taking people off of banknotes and putting nature on. So maybe we will follow what other people are doing. In the past, as a general thing about banknotes, is that the portrait on a banknote was always meant to be the most difficult part of the note to forge.
Right.
Which has always been supposedly the best bit of the banknote that you can't counterfeit. So
show me this. I'm going to put this on camera too, if that's okay.
The green pound with the Queen was the very first note in England issued with the Queen on in 1960.
They're beautiful, these.
And the 10 shilling note then followed in 1961. So that was the first time the Queen appeared on our banknotes.
Show me some more. Show me some more.
And then in 19...
Oh my goodness, look at these.
1963 they brought out a new £5 note with the Queen, and 1964 a new £10 note.
These are beautiful, and of course the Queen Elizabeth on those. Show me some more with other people on them. What's that one then, that £50 one? Who's on there?
This is Bolton and Watt.
Okay, let's show that.
And
okay,
that
£50.
was a much later series. You'll recognise it probably from the front more than the back, actually.
I don't actually recognise that £50 note, but then I don't get to see many of these things.
Well, I hear that a lot.
Which
from
one's
people.
your favourite one of all of these?
It's
this one, is it? Oh, it's this one. Can we have camera 2, please, Paul? Thank you. That's your favourite, is it? Oh, sweetness. OK, what's your real favourite?
I've always liked this set. This is the classic.
And why is that?
Well, because it's a nice design, but a lot of people much prefer what we call this, which is the historical set that has on
my
the
goodness.
back.
I remember this £50 note.
Yeah. If you look on the back, you've
there we
got
go.
Wren.
Sorry, I'm showing my age a bit here, aren't I? Can I ask you, if you could have one person that's not on these notes, other than Maryam Moshiri, the bestest ever, who would it be?
I've always thought Nelson deserves to go on, but
very interesting.
I can't see that
Admiral
happening.
Lord Nelson. OK, fantastic. Well, listen, thank you so much, Simon, for coming on and bring me all this money. I'm just going to keep it for you for a while, OK? And I'll give it back to you later. Thank you very much. Simon Narbeth. Well, you've been watching The World Today on BBC News. Thank you so much for your company. Bye-bye. Off I go. Bye.
Hello there. We're all in this cool